Be Andrew Rudin versus Zach Bunn.
Yes.
7-2 versus 7-2. Briar player. Love it. Let's go ahead straight to the game. They're getting ready to go. Oh, I love it. We got a little. Is that a little NWO Wolfpack kind of thing going on? That is sweet.
I also just the overall flex from Andrew with all of the slabbed cards. Good for him, man.
Oh, love it, love it, love it. Yeah, exactly. Just saying, like, yeah, these are all 9s, and these feet, they be 9.5s.
Starting off strong with a double aura turn. And this is most likely going to be that full, like, blue aura Prism style. And I don't know if you can have a better start than playing Genesis Haze Bending. If you're like, hey, I know you want to probably destroy some auras, but here's some auras that you definitely want to destroy. I don't know if you want to do anything with your turn, but it's probably not going to happen because you got to get rid of these things first.
I like how those Ironhide gauntlets are in like a Ziploc bag. It's like after this, we toss them out, jam a sandwich in there, we're good to go, baby. I got lunch. But this is going to be a completely different ball game in terms of how Prism is played. We mentioned when Michael was playing, he had to change the main strategy. Now we're going to see that main strategy, but this is the dream opener. It's Genesis. Is that Haze Bending?
Yeah,
like,
it is Haze Bending.
It does not get better than this. This is what you want to see. You jam out Genesis, you jam out another high priority target like Haze Bending, and even if those get targeted, you are going to be left with a little bit of residual spectral shieldedness. That's another one
I
for
like
the dictionary.
I'm gonna write that to spectral. Spell that for me.
S-P, ectral. Yeah, forget it.
That's a little too long for me.
Not happening.
Now, there's going to be some people out there that go, there's another line of play here perhaps. Look at this, just coming in with the Runic Reclamation, slamming it down. The other argument on turn 0 is maybe kind of stagger these auras or play one and then instant speed the other because, like Genesis, one of the best cards, one of the best auras that you could possibly have. You want to take advantage of it. But I think playing both of these out is just as valid because, again, you're saying to your opponent, deal with this or I snowball right now.
Mm-hmm. And Runic Reclamation is a very good card to do a lot of things. It'll deal damage. It'll, deal with some of these auras. And a lot of the strategy, a lot of the wisdom concerning the game is it's not always good on your first turn, on the initial turn of the game to attack. You're giving your opponent an option to filter out bad cards. Prism is immune to that because they're able to set up their board of auras at instant speed and then dropping another one on the board and then passing priority. And there's nothing that the other player can really do to address it. They'll have to attack, but if there's 2 on the board, you're already well ahead of the game.
Yep. Genesis being activated here, dropping a Herald into the Soul and then creating a Spectral Shield, and then just attacking the Arsenal immediately is Command and Conquer, following up just a solid turn 0 with another little backbreaker of a turn. You created a Spectral, you filled up your Soul, and you're saying, do you want your Arsenal card? You're not defending with reactions, so you're going to have to take cards from your hand. By the way, also, having Runic Reclamation on turn 1 to try and answer that was fantastic, and it was immediately countered. Oh, look at this, a double block here, jamming down. It was immediately countered by a defense reaction plus a block.
Definitely. Now, again, we were talking about how important a card like Herald of Erudition is, and the Kano player not necessarily having too many answers for it. This is a whole different ballgame because you've got Grasp of the Arcanite, you've got the Skull Cap. Each of those can fill in those 2-point gaps to block it. And then after those are both done, you could pocket the 2 together to create the other one. So here's a Lightning Surge that's going to be played
from Arsenal.
From Arsenal. 4 go again. Shades of metas past. This is basically 4 for 0 was the flavor of the day for a while. A great start. That's why you wanted to protect the Arsenal here. There's no non-attack actions necessarily coming through otherwise, but we don't know yet. It might just be Zach Bunn saying, all right, well, I got 2 cards in hand, I believe, is left. He's just going to go pitch, maybe go in with a Rosetta, maybe have another free attack that he's got in hand, jam another Arsenal, and see where we go here. I believe the play here is merely to pitch, and you have to start targeting those high-priority auras. Genesis is basically, suspect number 1.
And it's interesting, too, because this was the card that he chose to protect by blocking with 2 cards, blocking with Command and Conquer, blocking with Force of Nature. He chose to protect Lightning Surge from Arsenal, and maybe just because he wants this go wide, just overall red strategy, he's going to swing the Rosetta Thorn afterwards onto the Genesis, and in doing so, Haze Bending triggers, makes a Spectral Shield, Genesis will tuck away into the discard pile.
I mean, Haze Bending does so much work, and a lot of the discussion in terms of how do you really attack Prism, you have to have a plan in terms of really having a tier list of where all those auras are. Genesis, #1, Haze Bending is a big one, Merciful Retribution, but by the end of it, you've named 4 or 5 that you're like, no, this is something I have to attack, and then you just, ultimately, it's all gone. So here comes another Herald of Triumph. This one's yellow, and again, -1 attack on anything trying to block it. We already saw that Zach Bunn is playing a Command and Conquer. Do you think that besides that one Command and Conquer, what else is in Zach Bunn's arsenal or deck here that he could potentially use to start popping some of these Heralds?
We already saw him play a Runic Reclamation. That is a perfect sideboard card against Heralds. That's exactly why you side it in. It can also destroy auras, which is another reason why it's a perfect sideboard card for this exact matchup. But you can play this. If you're really worried, you can use this to pop. I don't necessarily think you prioritize destroying this Herald. I think it's much easier for you to just say, I could deal with 6 in a different way if I care. But what I really want to save those poppers for is Erudition, because we see there's no Dreamweavers in play. No. You always have the ability to pop an Erudition if it comes down.
Hey, man, there was a time when you just didn't block. That was not a thing you did, and that doesn't seem like the case in this right now, as Briar has always been known to just be ultra aggressive here, playing those 5-card hands. I think the problem now is, Zach didn't necessarily have the best hand earlier, and was
you know what? There it is. There's the Erudition, and he did a very smart play. He starts with an innocuous attack, baits out the popper, then he goes push the aura. No, you're not doing anything? Okay, taking all that damage. Okay, Herald of Erudition. Now you need to decide. And yes, you do have the ability to just go like single card block plus Skullcap here, and that's exactly what we're going to see. But now I'm getting those cards out, and he does have the embodiment of Earth to make that Earthlore Surge +1. So this does full block the Erudition, and he's going to create another Spectral at the end and come across for 1 more Spectral Shield damage.
Yeah, no, but this is what's clutch about those equipment pieces and just the sheer strength of the Grasp of the Arknight as well.
Yep.
You do have outlets to efficiently block out 1-card block those Eruditions. There are 3, and there are 3 opportunities with your equipment, and Zach Bunn is no slouch. He'll know that that's what the equipment is for.
Yep.
That is basically, it's just destined to be catching those Eruditions. 1 is gone, and I believe it's a full art one too.
Yes, it was very fancy. It was
classy
very, very fancy.
Classy move by Andrew.
And
nonetheless,
of course, seeing the Earthlore Surge tells us that this is definitely the Mountain Briar archetype. We could kind of surmise that. That's basically what's Briar has become, is like the zero cost attacks, I should say, and Force of Nature with Earthlore Surges in there, and a variety of other. Pulse of Candlehold getting played here, by the way, which is kind of spicy, grabbing some stuff. And then a Tome of Harvest to grab the card that you just took from the graveyard after you sink the Arsenal card, drawing 3 new cards, one of which you put there, or maybe 2 of which,
because
you grabbed
there.
Command and Conquer, and you could follow up with that. But with this archetype, looking to dig for that Channel Mount Heroic, which will buff up all your attacks and have a big Channel Mount Heroic turn off like a 6-card hand.
And there's no Arsenal right now, I believe, for the Prism players. So that CNC is kind of be losing a little bit of value, but even holding on to it, it's possible to pop one of those Heralds as well. Not the Triumph in this case, but it's still a possibility. But there is an Embodiment of Lightning. Again, Briar, it has the ability of when you play 2 non-attack actions in a row, you generate an Embodiment of Lightning. The next attack action you present will have go again.
Yeah.
And hey, why not? That's the one. That is the Lightning Surge that he had put through on top from the Pulse earlier, which is a card typically destined for the Arsenal, but this is an okay play as well.
Yeah, I think the thought process here is that, okay, there's a couple of variables at play here that I have to deal with. 1, there's 2 Spectral Shields up that are going to soak damage and then present damage back to me if I don't deal with them. So I want to try and push extra damage to either pull cards from hand or make him get rid of the Spectral Shields. That's like number 1. Number 2, I want to push damage to lower his life total and attack his hand. Number 3, I want to deal with the Haze Bending. And then if he follows that up with another aura at instant speed, I have to live with that. or if he deals with, like, on his own turn playing a new aura, I can deal with that then. But at this very moment, I need to push damage to get rid of these Spectral Shields. Then I need to attack the hand. Then I need to get rid, with the Rosetta Thorn at the end perhaps, I need to get rid of the Haze Bending.
Yeah, it's a tough thing to swallow if you're playing, this go-wide aggressive strategy where such a powerful and disruptive kind of melange of damage like the Rosetta Thorn is thrown at a Haze Bending versus something like, dealing 4 to face.
Yep.
I mean, an aggressive deck that has to divert its target, taking that crosshair off of Prism and putting it on something like an aura, it feels bad. It's 4 damage that is better directed somewhere else, but it is part of the process. It is something that these players have to digest as the matchups change. Prism, like most other heroes, have vulnerabilities and they have strengths. And in this case, being able to chain together, go face aura, face aura. You're able to both pressure the life total and clean up any of the threats that might come back your way.
Now, there's some interesting metagaming going on here, which I'm finding fascinating as we're watching. First of all, if you're curious, that Spectral Shield, I know it looked a little strange. When the attack happened, it destroyed 2 Spectral Shields, and then he followed up the Rosetta Thorn by pushing into Haze Bending. When Haze Bending gets destroyed, it creates a Spectral Shield as well, so that's why that Spectral Shield moved over to the side, because that is created off of Haze Bending. But the metagaming here is interesting, because the prevailing theory on playing into this blue aura Prism, which is kind of what I call it, is remove all the auras, they don't have threats, win the game. Like, that's the strategy. But we're seeing that perhaps this deck isn't quite all just blue auras, or maybe it's just the way it's been drawn, because we have several Wartune Heralds and like other heralds in the mix here. So maybe we're in this sort of gray area where if my overall strategy was my big picture way to win the game is to just deal with all the auras and then they don't have anything that they can actually do and then I just win the game, I don't know if I can go that strategy with this many counter pressure plays of heralds being pushed at me.
So there's a Pierce Reality in hand as well as a Herald of Protection, and Andrew right now is deciding, do I want to continue the pressure here? I could pitch Andrew could pitch the Pierce Reality to come in with the blue Herald of Protection. Herald of Protection at blue is coming in for 5 on hit, goes to Soul, creates a Spectral Shield, and that will further advance that chain of Spectral Shields, death by 1,000 cuts kind of strategy.
Yeah.
Like this massive, like more Kodachis that actually protect you at the same time.
Another Kodachi, and another Kodachi, and another Kodachi. Herald of Protection doing absolute work. And also, just want to point this out, playing the Extended Art Herald of Protection, a beautiful little card. One has already been put into Soul, and now the blue could be joining it very quickly. Zach generally doesn't want to do a bunch of blocking because you want to kind of keep counter pressure. If he's thinking that his overall game plan is to deal with auras, now he has to reposition and consider how he's going to deal with this now. And you don't necessarily want to let too many things go to Soul because it's just another way to get yellows and to pitch to push a bunch of auras.
Not only that, but I mean, you're just getting a free Spectral Shield anyways, which is free damage for Andrew as well. So Zach is doing a decent job here of just cleaning up the auras. It just so happens that a lot of the auras that he had to attack right now, things like Haze Bending, do leave some garbage behind on them, right? So you're putting in work, but you're also it's not where you want it to be.
So playing a Ravenous Rabble, which is a fantastic card generally, but in this Mountain Briar, sometimes you have the issue of revealing a blue off the top because you do play blues, and that's exactly what happened. Force of Nature, unfortunate to hit off the top because it means that Ravenous Rabble, which is vanilla 5, gets reduced to 2.
Yeah, I
so
mean,
it's just 2 go again.
The wet dream on this is you pull off the Gorganian Tome, which is 0, and that's a 5
go
again
for free.
For
nothing. Yeah, I mean,
it's happened. I mean, that is the way you want. That's the hopes and dreams here. But I mean, blue is basically the nightmare in this case.
So because it was coming in for 2 go again, Andrew was content to say, okay, you take a Spectral Shield, and then we just keep it rolling. And then a Swarming Gloom Veil, very innocuous here because there was like nothing except an embodiment created on that turn. So it just didn't have a lot of legs. Not even worth blocking is what Prism says, because I've got a bunch of heralds, all of which very flashy Extended Art heralds.
Yeah, we get it, man. Andrew does the goes to the armories and kicks a lot of ass.
This is all the flexing.
I love it, though.
I'll tell you what. Look, this is the second most flex I've seen on stream. The first of which being the Starvo player Nick Butcher from yesterday, flexing the Alpha Rainbow Foil Majestic playset of Crippling Crush in his deck, which was just absurd.
Yeah, you already won at that point. We get it. You already won. Another Wartune Herald, another full art. This one's coming in for 5, and Zach Bunn is at 24 now, and that soul is getting locked and loaded. And I mean, the wisdom a while ago as Briar was, you just eat it because you're going to be your output is so much more supercharged than what your opponent would be. In almost all cases now, that's not the case anymore. A lot of those tools are no longer part of it. Plus, Plunder Run's not in the game, so you can't have those 4, 5, 6 attacks in a row that are not uncommon.
Yeah.
In this case, you have to be a little bit more wary about what is coming your way. It's no longer just shrug it off, I'll deal with it later. As you can see, Zach Bunn is respecting these heralds a little bit more, and they're still...
I think you have to.
Yeah,
I think in this matchup you have to respect the heralds far more than you may at first see, because really this version of Briar is more combo than perhaps is being led on, because you are looking to make these sort of zero-cost attacks that much more potent, that much more powerful. This was from Arsenal, another Lightning Surge, which gives itself Go Again. That card just comes across for 4 with Go Again for free, but again, if you have a channel mount established, all of a sudden it's a 7 Go Again, and that's why you're playing a more controlling style. I don't want to call it controlling, but you're playing more cautiously, and you're blocking more of these heralds. You can't get a life deficit and then try to claw your way back in. You have to keep it close. You have to set up a turn, take your moment where you take a big hit, and then come back on your own.
That's actually a card in the next supplemental set, Channel Mount Established.
Yes, I'll take that.
Yeah, I'll do that.
That would be pretty cool.
I want a Rainbow Foil Channel Mount Established. So for Lightning Surge, was this out of Arsenal? I believe
it was. Yes,
I believe it was. So
Arsenal.
Get and Go Again because it's coming out of Arsenal. That awkward number of 4 going through towards the Prism here. I believe Zach still's got a bunch of cards as well, so that's just going to connect for 4. We're at 26 for Andrew. An Embodiment of Earth is there. There's the Sonata. All right, so let's see how we can go ahead and peel some cards off the top and maybe get some extra gas into the tank.
Yeah, now Sonata here does a couple of different things that are great for you. It turns on Rosetta Thorn. It possibly gets you a card if that's not... Oh, and there's the Channel Mount. Unfortunately, it's not going to go into his hand, but he is going to get a Snatch and an Enlightened Strike. And you would love to see that Channel Mount Heroic like on top in your hand and so not shuffled into your deck. But unfortunately, that's what's going to happen here. So you're still trying to dig for that elusive Channel Mount, but at least you get the nice consolation prize of 2 strong attacks, the possibility of maybe Spellbound Creepers for like some Go Again stuff, and then follow it up with Rosetta Thorn to really push your opponent's life total. Maybe try to make them block with cards from hand.
Now, if Zach can drop another non-attack action, he'll get an Embodiment of Earth. Is the next...
Embodiment of Lightning, yeah.
Embodiment of Lightning, yeah. Is the next card that he's going to play a Snatch, or is he looking maybe to go ahead with the E-Strike?
Well, it depends. So if you have a non-attack here and you have the resource floating, which he does, you can play the Snatch, throw the threat down. I think it's probably easier just to come in with Enlightened Strike, but he just has it. He just has the Revel in Runeblood. You don't even need to gain the extra action point here by doing some like Spellbound Creeper stuff. It's a little early to use your Creepers as well, but you just jam down the Revel in Runeblood, create the Lightning, push 4 plus draw card threat. That seems pretty good.
And you're going to go again. Why not?
Yep.
A little sprinkle on the Sunday as well. If this does connect, obviously the first is the 4 instances of Rune Chance that Andrew is going to have to address here. The life totals are even, Steven, even Armada.
Hey, that's me.
A little shameless plug for the Cookus.
There you go. Put that in there. He's going to pitch to stop 3 Rune Chance. I think he's still trying to figure out how he deals. Oh, and look at the hand. Is that Arclight Sentinel and then 2 Merciful Retributions? There's 0 block in hand if that's an Arclight Sentinel. Maybe it's something else, but that's still... Oh, no, it's Ode to Wrath, Arclight Sentinel...
And
no, Parable of Humility, Arclight Sentinel, and Merciful. There's a 0 block. Thank goodness he had the Soul Shield.
Yeah, the Soul Shield is there to rescue a little bit of the problematic situation here, but you're right. I mean, Parable of Humility might have been the only good thing if that Soul Shield wasn't tucked away in the arsenal, but this Soul Shield is going to come through as a 6 block and then go to Soul, just stuffing the card draw. But again, Rosetta, 2 and 2. The arcane damage was busted through for the rune chance. Feels good. And, I mean, this is what Zach wants to see. Zach wants to see cards bought and damage pushed.
And I want to point this out. There's a lot of mixed feelings on Runeblade in general. Runeblade's been so good for so long, but there are some really technical plays that you have to work through when you're playing any of the Runeblades. And this turn, you could literally just snapshot this turn and just do a masterclass on the different lines of play. Because depending on the resources that you have and what you draw off of that Sonata, you could have done about 2 or 3 different very powerful plays. And here, choosing this exact line here, was there a line where maybe you used Spellbound Creepers? Maybe you got draw a card off of Enlightened Strike, and then you did a go again thing with gaining an action point at instant. There's so many complex triggers.
The introduction of Spellbound Creepers to replace Snapdragon Scalers, it has, you're right, it has added an extra layer of complexity to some of these turns of when you want to sneak things in. It's offered extra avenues of attack if that's the right way to sort of approach it here, because prior to this, usually you're just going with the Snapdragon Scalers to get the free go again, but this is another way to go ahead and sneak it in.
Another Ravenous revealing a blue, so 2 go again. And it was interesting, too, because the counter argument there of maybe going for some crazy line is, well, what if he flashes down like an aura at the end that I want to try and deal with? Or what if he, just full blocks it, comes back at something else? So there's always this thought that you have to consider. Maybe I'm keeping this for, this other scenario. Maybe I'm trying to play around him having another Herald of Erudition, which we'll have to see probably coming up. Ooh, and the Tome of Harvests. Oh, man, I was just talking about this in the previous round. I love Tome of Harvest. I think this is a fantastic card, and one that, for someone who fundamentally, deep down, when you look past everything, I love drawing cardboard squares. I love that. Cardboard rectangles from the top of the deck coming into my hand is fun to me. So I like Tome of Harvest.
I need to let people know that when you were saying that, you were looking so deeply into my eyes. It was the most intense conversation of casting I've ever had. I felt it.
I told you something deep about me. I love pulling cardboard rectangles off the top of other cardboard rectangles.
Do you want, I will at one point today or tomorrow I will tell you a flake secret, and I just to sort of, because I gotta open up to you too,
yeah,
man.
Please do. Everyone in chat that also loves drawing cardboard rectangles, give me a thumbs up in chat, and I'm gonna send someone over to look at the chat to see if everyone's thumbs up, because I love the old draw card, and Tome allows you to draw 3. So I mean, how can you not like that?
All right,
for 7. Look at this.
There's a mess of cards on the board here. That Tome was led into a Bramble Spark Red, which you got a Rune Shank going, the embodiment of lightning, and suddenly a 7-point Swarming Gloomveil. How many auras were created here? You've got the Rune Chant, you've got the embodiment of lightning as well. So I believe there was 2 that were created. I don't think there was anything prior to that as well. So 2 creates the +1, the go again, and 7 go again is pretty nasty. These are shades of Briar's past.
And this is exactly what you want to see. You want to rip those heralds out of the way and try to push damage that makes him really, really sweat in the position of Zach. And Zach's going to come across for 2 and 2, and he's just going to soak with the Spectral for 1 and take 3 overall. Really putting the pressure on Prism, able to sort of seize that tempo earlier.
Yeah, well, that Swarming Gloomveil, full Build-A-Bear getting stuffed, and a Spectral Shield is going to get chewed up by a Rosetta Thorn off the Arcane, but 3's going to squeak through. And listen, if you're buying cards, I mean, he blocked with a Herald of Erudition.
Yes.
So those you got to count those as wins in certain cases, because that's an Erudition that's not going to come back to haunt you. Zach in the driver's seat. He's got a 7-point lead in terms of life total, but he's got the momentum, and that's what counts, because I believe it was just a drop and pass here from Andrew, right?
Yeah,
so
he had 1 card in Arsenal. He had Tunic Resource up, and we know that the Arsenal card is an uncomfortable aura from that 4-aura turn where he drew into 4 auras and had basically nothing to block with except that Soul Shield from Arsenal. Yep. So since that turn, it has been Zach Bunn just all the way. By the way, Zach Bunn, you can definitely follow him. Produces a fantastic Flesh and Blood I guess what would you say? It's a weekly stream over on his YouTube channel.
Yeah, Zach is very engaged with the community. He's somebody I interact with a lot on Twitter, a really, really good person as well. And, I mean, it's just nice to see some of these community members out there and not just succeeding amidst the community and really just tossing positivity and content out there, but also succeeding in a professional standpoint like this. So kudos to you, Zach, and I love that NWO shirt.
Yeah, one of the showrunners on the YouTube channel Team Covenant, and also a business owner as well.
So in this case right now, this seems like a really, I mean, Runic Reclamation is a card against Prism that you obviously you want to kind of toss it out there in situations where you'll get the benefit. But in this case, 7 points of damage based on the life total difference is good enough. And you already have tunic value. You've got an arsenal. Now, it's all systems go.
Now what he did here, he played Runic Reclamation, which doesn't have go again. His action point is done, but in order to keep the turn going and keep the pressure on after opponent full took, he decided to Spellbound Creepers and play a non-attack that has go again. And that non-attack is Whisper of the Oracle. So how this works, even though he doesn't have an action point, at instant speed, he Whispers of the Oracles, which resolves its go again, giving him another action point. And on top of all of that, Arclight Sentinel comes down, and it's going to force the Rosetta Thorn to come in and clean the Arclight Sentinel up. So that turn is basically over at that point.
But does this blow up the Spellbound Creepers because no arcane damage was pushed through?
That's a great question. I actually don't know if he dealt prior arcane damage or any arcane damage on that turn.
I may have missed out on that, but either way, it's a very dangerous game sometimes you play where the Spellbound Creepers.
I think that's maybe they're catching it right now.
Yeah,
they might be catching it.
They're discussing it right now because again, that is a dangerous game you play.
It is.
Because if you do activate it, you need to make sure that you're dealing arcane damage equal to the amount
of it.
Yeah,
Good.
there it goes. So adios to the shoes, baby boy.
You're exactly right. What you're talking about, 100% correct. Using them at the right time is huge. And in that moment, he was going to get arcane damage most likely through and keep that whole ability to play at instant speed and gain action points alive. But losing it at that moment and flashing down that Arclight Sentinel at that exact moment a really big deal because now he doesn't have access to that later. Of course, he does have a nice little 9 to 22 lead on life.
All right, but that means nothing in this case because you've basically found a spot here where you can push through to stop that. You've blown up a very significant piece of their equipment package.
That is true.
Their skull cap is spent. Their grasp can only block one. So if you're coming in with a Herald of Erudition,
I think there's only one left in the deck.
But
you have to find the one, right?
But it's going to be big because without you need to give up your grasp and potentially your tunic. But again, it's game. The match right now is the ball's in Zach's court. He's going to show up with a that is an E-Strike, and again, you're choosing the mode here, which I suspect is going to be go again.
I think you chose go again. At this point, you can't do the draw card strategy where you say 5 draw cards, Spellbound Creepers, play non-attack, and then go from there because the non-attack resolves with go again and gives you an action point. Can't do it. So now it's just got to be the go again choice. But 5 and go again, still very dangerous overall threat.
And in this case as well, we're talking about the fact that the life totals are quite lopsided, but Prism is a late game type of hero. It takes a while to get established. The auras will get assaulted consistently with threats and such, but eventually you're going to turn a corner where perhaps the Briar player is going to miss. It's going to not necessarily be able to address everything, and then you can start building those auras, cheating them out where necessary. If the Briar player slips up here and opens up a window where Andrew can drop a couple auras and start populating the board, then it's basically block 3 cards, pitch yellow, and go.
Right, and that's kind of what I think Andrew's playing towards because he establishes the Shimmers of Silver and he defends his overall life total by throwing whatever cards he has available to him, and did flash down that beautiful alternate art Scar for Scar. Yeah, he showed it earlier as well. I was like,
oh, you too?
Hey, yeah,
no
flash
worries.
That Scar for a Scar down, and that was a very good play, just pushing the 7. This Shimmers of Silver pushes some extra damage because it buffs, and it chooses to buff itself for pushing for 2.
I love it. I mean, Andrew had blocked with his Ziploc Ironhides there, and that Scar for a Scar, that's not just like a full art Scar for a Scar, it's also alternate art full art Scar for a Scar. You had to be there when James White had that epiphany of like, hey, I got an idea. and you had to be at that early on in the game to get that card.
That was one of the first alternate art cards. I think it was the first alternate art card ever. It was actually a Team Covenant like exclusive card. Is a beautiful card and one that I wish I had my hands on. Unfortunately, I don't, just because I would sleeve it up and play it in every single deck that ever played Scar for a Scar. It's too good to look at.
Well, Zach, if you're listening to this, buddy, Armada and we think that you're quite a handsome chap.
You're doing a great job, and
keep it up.
You know, if you
got a couple lying around or something.
If you want to return the favor, just compliment us over here.
We are shameless, ladies and gentlemen, absolutely shameless. So life totals now. It's Zach Bunn at 20, Andrew at 5. I think this game is far from over, but in all honesty, Briar can do some pretty nasty things. If Zach Bunn could basically just absorb a turn of damage with that perfect hand, go maybe 2 or 3 wide. That's if Andrew does not have something like an Arclight Sentinel to basically pump the brakes on that whole turn, that could be dangerous. Right now, Andrew needs to have he needs to be drawing up the right pieces.
Oh, hey, look what you called earlier. Arclight Sentinel shows up, and it's funny because we saw one. I think we saw the other one pitched earlier. And then now we have this one played. So I think we've accounted for all 3, but this is the Prism specialization that basically says your turn's over. Your turn is done. And if you don't have Spellbound Creepers, your turn's extra done.
It's funny because, Dalen Mack is a very big Prism player, and this basically just stuffs it, right? It stuffs the turn. I call him the Arclight Sentinel of the USFL.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that a lot. That's good.
On the defensive line, terrorizing the quarterback, just stuffing the play. That is he is the Arclight Sentinel. But in this case, the Arclight Sentinel is on the board. But there's the Channel Mount Heroic. The importance of this must be massive.
Yeah, he's able to establish the Channel Mount Heroic and also kill the Arclight Sentinel. That could have been a horrible turn, actually. If he isn't able to remove the Arclight Sentinel there, then that would have been a huge turning point. It is able to remove it here and establish a Channel Mount while pitching the Earth card so that it can stick to the board. And you do have a window here as Prism. You were able to stop it now, but unfortunately, now it's like make a Spectral, attack, attack, attack. This one comes for 3. You have nothing. You're face up at this point. You know the damage that's coming through.
Zach has basically crossed the Rubicon here of no return, where you're saying these are insignificant to me because everything that I'm going to generate is going to be UPS overnight direct to face. It has there's no detours. There's no pit stops.
He's got the tunic resource up as well.
There's no arsenal, though, and that could be problematic. You're playing 4 instead of 5, but I think that if you have the ideal set, you're so close to that finish line.
You know what the danger is here? The danger
is
the ultimate danger.
Strangers.
No, because you probably know the people around you, but you know what it is?
What?
4 non-attacks.
Oh, God,
If you hit the 4 oh, just kidding. It's an E-Strike. Never mind. Hey, don't panic, everybody. There's an E-Strike available. So this E-Strike, most likely 5 go again, but spoiler alert, it's actually 8 from the Channel Mount.
Spoiler alert. Now, there is a situation. Now, the 4 non-attacks is kind of, obviously, it's a little bit of booty in that case. It's not the greatest, but you can manufacture your next turn. You go non-attack, create lightning, and then swing Rosetta and have the go again ready for next turn. It's a possibility.
Now, is he going to have follow-up attack? You definitely want to capitalize here. Your channel's going away no matter what.
Ooh, boy.
Hitting the Sonata is huge.
Oh, no.
Oh, is he going to hit anything?
Oh!
He hits nothing. The Sonata whiffs and
Andrew is elated.
Dodges the bullet there. If he has no follow-up attack to this. Now, of course, you've forced your opponent to have he does have a snatch. At least he is that. It's just a snatch for 7. Hey, it's just for 7.
What's in the hand? If that's an instant aura with no defense, I mean, this is a problem that Prisms face. Your Genesis, your Parable of Humility, your Merciful Retribution, Ode to Wrath, no block on that. There's nothing
What he's going to have to do is throw both things, and the Spectral reduces him to 1. In that scenario, what you're describing, he lives at 1 if that aura, if that's an aura. And he's going to have to pay for the boots, I believe.
He is going to have to pay for the boots.
Paying for the boots. I think he used the tunic trigger. I think it was full there. Maybe he took that off, paying for the boots that way. And that could be reduced to 1. So I think you soul-read him.
Uh-oh. Well, here it goes again. You're going to lose the Channel Mount Heroic, but you've brought your opponent to 1. And you do not have an option here to block 2 arcane damage.
Yep.
There are no spectral shields.
How do you win this game? How do you win it from here? Rosetta Thorn.
Basically. So now in this case, it's non-attack, attack with go again, Rosetta. And but you have to generate that go
Yes.
again somehow, and that is
Yes.
clutch.
And Andrew has been stuck in this really tough matchup back and forth where it's felt like he hasn't really gained a foothold. Once those first couple of auras were off of the board and just removed and running into that one turn where he had a 4 aura hand, it's just been sort of this downhill slide where Zach continues to climb the Mount Heroic and push the damage while Andrew just kind of falls down, tripping over rocks and roots on the way down the hill.
That is very vivid.
Oh, I'm just trying to describe
Have you
the
been
action.
skiing lately?
I've never been skiing. Can you
Well,
believe that?
Well, I can see why. Rocks and roots and like abominable snowmen and stuff that
That'd
you're
be
talking
horrible.
about. Yeah.
That'd be
A dragon swoops in, a meteor hits you. Yeah, you're making it sound terrible. But in this case, looking at Andrew's hand, there is a lot of 3-block in there. I think there was a Herald of Erudition there. I think I saw a CNC. Was there a CNC in there as well?
It did appear that. But again, at this point, Zach is looking for arcane damage lethal.
Yep.
That's all he's looking for. So he's trying to figure out a way to just dodge any weird Arclight Sentinel, final Arclight Sentinel that could come down and maybe get him back in the game. Because his life total, it's not like he's just far and away just life lead like crazy.
Yeah.
If an Arclight Sentinel somehow comes down here and stops this and he just runs into one of those bad hands, this could pivot very quickly.
So another move here could have been that you hit the grasp of the Arcanite to come in with an arcade.
I think that's what he's doing right
Perfect.
now, yeah.
And this is buying a card out of the hand because that is definitely lethal. And here's the
and
go
there's
again
the
that we
swarming-
need.
That's the Swarming Gloom Veil, and that Swarming Gloom Veil is buffed up by the Earth Lore Surge as well. So you're pushing 6 plus a Rune Chant. They have to pitch to stop the Rune Chant. Then they have to block 6. Then they have to not die to Rosetta.
Oh,
that's the play.
Yeah, I don't think that there's any way around this. Unfortunately, the way that this damage is cut up, it's not digestible. As we see, the block for 6 is there. There it goes.
Oh, man, the uber flex of creating with the absolute revel in Rune Blood, and then the push for, a casual 2 physical and a billion arcane damage.